Hello, and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 135. I am your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is...
James Seelig.
James, it is another sunny Sunday, and it's the 23rd. And we are here after another victory for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I guess as a continuation to last week, you mentioned, tune in next time to see if I'm crying or laughing.
Yes, and we did it. Somehow, if you watch that game, it was honestly, part of me is like, how the fuck did we win this? It's honestly mind-boggling that we somehow pulled it off, but it was thanks to our special teams and whatnot specifically, and our defense was just going crazy, and it felt like, the Packers offense didn't want it. Point is, though, we somehow are making it to the NFC Championship, and currently, as we speak, the Rams and the Buccaneers are playing. It's fourth quarter at this point, I believe, but the Rams are probably going to make it unless the Bucs do a fourth quarter comeback, because it's 27-6. So, we'll see what happens there. I might in the middle of this look up just to see what the fuck's happening and just stop whatever we're talking about and be like, oh fuck, we're playing the Rams or something, which, we beat them twice in the regular season, so maybe a third time, knock on wood. Hear that wood knock there. There you go. Otherwise, last time we talked also, my leg was or my foot and ankle were sprained. So, sprained, yes. Much better. Walking around normally. I'm going to go back to the gym this week, and I'm going to attempt to run by the end of the week, going to, a little bit more warm-ups, walking around more tomorrow and stuff, but trying to get back into a normal groove and just get back into the fit run to do the improvements I wanted to make and everything else. How are you doing, James?
I'm good. I got to get back into cardio too. I've been so off on that.
Watch out for holes in the sidewalk.
Well, that's why I almost exclusively run on a treadmill. Partly just because I'm usually in the gym most days anyway, but also less chance of tripping and falling on a pothole or whatever.
Luckily, there's a dirt path I can take next time that was right next to it that I should have probably taken. I just was like, it's fine, and then it wasn't. So, yeah. But you said you were playing some Gears Tactics before we...
Yeah, I don't know. So one of the things I got for Christmas was the Backbone controller, and I've just been playing around with that, doing random shit on xCloud, because it's actually a really good experience. When I have a stable internet connection, it just literally feels like I'm playing these games on my phone. And so far, literally the best experience I've had is with Gears Tactics. And I don't know if that's because it's a turn-based thing, so it's easier to mask when there is input lag or whatever. But it's also just a really fun, good tactics game. I thought it was going to be at least fine.
It's fun. It's like XCOM, right? It's
it is
the same vein.
When they first announced it, I was like, oh, that makes total sense, because you're going from cover to cover anyway. So it feels like it would be a perfect fit for XCOM style. And damn, it works. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Nice. That's cool. We both were watching Peacemaker, which is fantastic. I think, honestly, I feel like I'm going to try to do an early hiatus lift off the Cut of Steel once this show wraps up, just so we can get an episode on that out. Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman will come later, but I'm just it's gonna be fresh, it's gonna be hot.
Yeah.
I'm I need to talk.
I'm having so much fun with that show.
It's great.
I also found out that Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan are actually being uploaded to Hulu, so I think I'm current on those.
Dude, I watched Demon Slayer a little bit before this, and I was just like,
I need
there's
to watch
3 episodes left, and I can't. It's 2 episodes left. It was episode 9 today, or 8. No, it was 8 today, so there's 3 episodes left. I fucking love that show. God, it's so good. Dude, I've been playing a lot of Destiny, or at least when I can. I've been playing
I've also been trying to do Destiny just to I'm at least current on the story stuff for this season, so I'm waiting for the ley lines to align.
I'm just trying to get all my... There's I have a small list of just things to cross off before Witch Queen comes out, and I'm trying to do them fast so I can stop and have a nice little break, pretty much it comes out a month from now. So I'd like to have at least a 3-week break where I don't have to play anything until at least that last update for the season comes out, for the last story quest that, eventually will pop up. But my clan upped the requirements for how many raids you need to do, which currently it's like 15 Last Wish clears, 15 Garden of Salvation clears. It was 30 Deep Stone Crypt clears, and then 30 Vault of Glass clears, which I'm like, all right, cool. I'm over all of those except for Deep Stone. I only did like, I wanted to say like 24. I was at like 19 because I got Eyes of Tomorrow and the Seal really fast. So I just stopped doing it because I'm like, oh, I did everything. I don't really care that much anyway. But then I've been like working towards it. I got like 3 left for it. But then Vault of Glass, they raised by another 15 to 45. And I was like,
no.
Oh, fuck. So I had like 9 more. I'm down to like, I want to say 5 or 6 I got left. But I've been doing like everything from regular to master runs just to knock it out. But I should have it all done sometime this coming week just to have that. But the other thing is, the 30th anniversary is great. I'm enjoying it. The Forerunner gun, fantastic. The catalyst for the Forerunner gun is actual torture. They're making you hate life to get it if you want it fast. To get the catalyst gun, it's like pretty much like rank 16 in Xur's reputation. So like the end of his tree line. To get it, his bounties actually don't increase your reputation. The only way to do it is specifically dares. And from what I've looked, I forget how much it is, but it takes over 80 clears of dares to get to that rank.
Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah. So you're just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And I've been doing it
that
here
might be
and
what
there.
I do for a month.
I've been doing like anywhere from like 2 to 6 runs at a time, once or twice a week currently. I'm trying to do it more just to get it out of the way. And I know I don't need to do it now. I could wait for sometime during the Witch Queen and just gradually get it. But I'm also just like, I just want this done. So that's just one little annoying thing. But anyway, guys, this is Sutro Sidetalk. Every week we come and talk about what we've been playing and watching, which, kind of just did a little bit. And then we'll talk a couple little news pieces here and there. This time, though, this episode's a little bit different. We aren't doing what we've been watching and playing. That kind of was it for today with what we just did. It was just like, just catching up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we our main topic this week is news, and it is specifically very, very, very big news.
Possibly the biggest news since we've started this podcast.
Actually, yeah, it's pretty up there, honestly. Microsoft has bought Activision Blizzard, and we're gonna talk about that. It went from, oh shit, well, we got our news topic for the week besides whatever we're gonna talk about for our main feature. And I'm like, it'll be a 10-minute topic. And then I started thinking more and more about it and how many just subtopics were within it. And I went from like, oh yeah, this will be a 10-minute thing to, bro, this is the episode. The episode is just going to be about this. And so I tried to get some other people on for it. Scheduling conflicts occurred, and so we couldn't have that happen. It'll just be the two of us, which, makes it so it's not going to be a 2-hour episode, hopefully. But we're just going to be talking about that. Everything from the conduct that's been going on at Activision Blizzard to unionization, Bobby Kotick leaving, the deal itself, things about monopoly, exclusivity, multi-platform stuff with Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, with Sony, PlayStation stuff, everything else, just everything. It's going to be even what we want at the end. It's going to go from, I'd say, the way I have it lined up is all the most serious topics within this will be first, and gradually will kind of lessen in tone to more it'll be go from serious to by the end it's fun just talking about certain things with it by the end. So it's more of a nice, more lighthearted ending, I guess I'd say. Otherwise, we do have one regular news piece that we wanted to talk about, which is Godzilla related, which I'm very happy about. And one last thing before we do dive into it, but we're on YouTube, we're on all podcast platforms now, and if you're an audio listener, you haven't really noticed any changes. I think there was one episode where the audio probably sounded worse than normal, and I'm sorry for that, but hopefully everything's back to normal now. If you're a YouTuber or a YouTube viewer and you're watching this and you're probably like, what the fuck, where's the intro? You guys don't have anything. It's very budgeted, cheap, whatever. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it's going to be for a while. And I know it doesn't feel that professional and everything else, but I'm just happy at least that we made it to YouTube in general. Because before I never actually even wanted to do video, and it took a lot for me to finally like kind of push into it to do this for us. But it'll still be kind of cold opens like this where it's just like, oh hey, here we are, here's our faces. There's no like animated intro or anything like that. I do eventually want to get one of those. Like I'd like to work with someone on making a cool little Sutro intro, probably bring in the music we have from the podcast intro for it, because I think that would be fantastic. It's just not currently the priority. If you guys noticed too, like I said, Cut a Steel, Up to It, Down to It are on hiatus. I stopped doing the news posts on Instagram, and TikTok's also kind of on hiatus as well, just because I'm trying to focus on some non-podcast stuff. So don't expect anything for now. And, those other things will come back before I make newer improvements to like this and other things. So all in due time, and I'll do my best to make it happen. But for now, there's other focuses I got to get to. And at least I hope you guys are enjoying what you see. And like I said, if you guys got any comments, feedback for improvements that we can possibly do now, you can always send that at Sutro Sidetalk at gmail.com. Title of the show at gmail.com. But with that said, James, are you ready to just jump right into everything?
I don't know. We'll see. It's a whopper of a topic.
It is. That's why we're starting light with some kaiju goodness, right? So what's cool here is this is from the Apple TV press website. So, it's from Inside Apple. But they say, hang on, I'm trying to like move my phone to a good angle where I'm still like looking sort of at the camera and not like looking like this. But all right.
Trying to be professional.
Yeah, right. Apple TV today announced a series order for a new original live-action series from Legendary's MonsterVerse franchise. Following the thunderous battle between Godzilla and the Titans that leveled San Francisco and the shocking new reality that monsters are real, the series explores one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and a legacy, linking them to the secret organization known as Monarch. So what it sounds like is, or at least from reading more about it, you guys watch the Legendary movies, Godzilla 2019, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then Godzilla vs. Kong. This is the same vein of that. It's in the same world, and it should have Godzilla in it too, which is really cool. This is going to be on Apple TV Plus. Is it Apple TV or Apple TV Plus?
I have it. I should know. I think it's TV Plus.
Yeah. It'll be exclusively on there, which, if you're a PlayStation guy and you got a PS5, you get 6 months free. Dope. Yeah. I haven't actually started mine yet, so I'm holding off on it. I'm just saving it, but I might use it soon because I got there were ways where I've gotten special codes that I also haven't used, and I will be using those first. So I do have I have multiple ways to watch things currently. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think most of the Apple TV shows are like hit or miss. So I hope this is one of the good ones.
Yeah. I mean, I still got to watch Ted Lasso, which is supposed to be my next show anyway. Yeah. But I'll probably be starting it soon. This is supposed to take place, I think, overall after GVK. So after Godzilla vs. Kong, which was the newest part of the, that series of movies in terms of the events. But it's going to span all the way back to Godzilla 2019 or 2018. No, 2014. I'm sorry. And it's going to go through that family's, journey through it in the background of whatever they were doing with the kaiju and Monarch and everything else. So I'm very curious to see what that means exactly and what they're going to do with that. There's also supposed to be another mysterious organization that they're going up against. My curiosity is, would this include, Charles Dance's organization? Tywin Lannister, aka. So
were they technically eco-terrorists? Or?
Yeah, they were some form of eco-terrorist, and it feels like they sold that head to, that dude in GV. I don't know. We talked about that. That's the whole watch our Godzilla vs. Kong special because we talk all about what the fuck in general.
I mean, I'm at least happy to see that there's more stuff coming from the Legendary storyline because the last time we talked about this, we were worried that Godzilla vs. Kong was going to be maybe the last thing because the contract was running up and like Toho apparently was not very happy, I guess, with the Legendary, or I don't know if it was that they weren't happy with it or if it was just that they maybe weren't interested in going ahead with it anymore.
Well, they had a contract for a certain amount of time, and that contract was up, because that means Toho could go back to doing their own movies again. I think it was stopping them from doing movies too.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Even though Shin Godzilla was in between, but I think that's also why there was such a big gap. There was a 5-year gap between both Godzilla movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly what is going to happen now, because I think it's supposed to be a coexistence at this point, considering we got like Godzilla Singular Point going on as an anime, and now we have this show coming up that's live action, and it sounds like it's going to be not as crazy as the movies, considering it's more like kind of a journey through the previous movies' timelines, it sounds like. But I don't think that steers them away from doing another big movie with like Legendary or something. Like, I think that's still on the table. I think this is just going to be additional, where they're like, besides doing movies, can we expand and break into streaming? And Apple TV probably is like, well, we need something. Disney Plus has a shit ton, HBO Max has a shit ton, even Paramount Plus has Nickelodeon, and Apple TV, is doing great with Ted Lasso. They're at least like killing it with that show single-handedly,
Yeah.
but not everything there, like you said, things are hit or miss. I haven't seen myself, but I'll find out soon enough. But I think they're very much looking forward to having something like this where it can go pretty big. And what's interesting is, it's not going to be at HBO Max. It's going to be at Apple TV Plus, specifically.
Yeah. That is interesting and weird. Huh.
It could also be, HBO Max is a lot already. Like, they're pushing their normal shows and then their DC shows. So maybe they didn't even have room for it, or they didn't want to produce that because of how much money it would cost for the visual effects for the kaiju, And Apple TV was like, well, we're Apple. We have Apple money. We could do that. No problem.
Yeah.
So, like, there's that possibility. I honestly don't know the real reasoning behind it. I'm not sure if we'll ever know unless, we get some insider that could tell us. But, I don't think it was exclusive to that. I think it's really like Toho just can pick whoever they want for it, potentially, or if it's Legendary, who exactly is in charge of it. Oh, yeah, because it is Legendary Television. And Legendary was the main, like, ones that I think are in charge of this. And Warner Brothers was, like, helping them distribute more than anything. And that's why that was. So Legendary has it, and they could just go to whoever they want for it. I think honestly that's why. And Apple TV won out over HBO Max, or they just wanted it more than HBO Max did, potentially.
Possibly.
The cool thing though is the producers on it are going to be Chris Black, who is the, I guess, showrunner from Star Trek Enterprise and Outcast, and also Matt Fraction, which I talked about it last episode, ironically. Matt Fraction is the author of the writer of the Hawkeye comic I was talking about. That's actually really, really good. He also has done like a Jimmy Olsen series, and he does a lot of stuff. His stuff is usually pretty great. And the fact that he's doing this is just exciting, because it's like, oh, we got a top tier comic writer to do this. And just that thought itself is going to be fun. I think he could bring a lot to the table here, and I'm excited to see what they can do together. Toho has involvement too. I think some of their guys are executive producing, so it's going to be, all hands in, like America and Japan. So I'm pretty pumped to see what happens with this. Who knows exactly how long it's going to be till we see this show, but I'm excited for when we eventually get it. It's going to be a fun time. I'm glad we got this announcement. And it's like, eventually, like, and I think in September we're getting the Rings of Power, that Lord of the Rings show. And it's like all these shows that potentially were rumored to now are happening, are coming to fruition. And over time we're going to get it. And, I'm okay waiting a year or two, if not longer, to get this, as long as, it's great. So just excited there to see what happens.
I just want to see more I don't know why, but like that one new Titan is like so interesting to me, just because he's like, a giant like elephant, but with like fists and no trunk.
Yes.
And I'm just like, and he's covered in moss. I think that might be like the main thing, is that he looks like a nature spirit or something like that. And I'm just like, I want to see more of this guy because he looks so cool, and we've only gotten like 2 seconds of him in like any of the movies.
I mean, honestly, if it's not going to be a Godzilla or Kong movie next, I really, really want to. Personally, I would love to see it. I feel like they do Mothra, but I really want to see a Rodan movie.
But if it's after Godzilla fights in the Mudos in San Francisco, then that's like way before Behemoth and all the others woke up.
Well, no, it's supposed to go through, I think, all of them.
Oh, okay, then maybe I do have hope.
Obviously not Kong Skull Island, because that's the 70s, but I think it's supposed to go through Godzilla 2014, 2019, and GBK.
There could be flashbacks.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll actually get to see what the fuck happened to, like, Skull Island.
Yeah.
That was one of the most frustrating things in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Dead.
It's like, yeah, everything on this island is dead except for this one dome where we keep Kong safe. Like, wait, what happened, though?
But not to worry, this corporation got a bunch of the fucking skull crawlers for some reason. You know, that's fine.
Yeah, it's cool. This deaf girl is like the last one of the Iwi, so they're not all dead.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the regular news, and now to the big, fucking massive news that is Microsoft buying Activision. Which, big news! Microsoft has bought Activision Blizzard for. How much was it again? It was like 79 billion. Was that what it was? I think you just muted yourself.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I had unmuted my mic. So I was like freaking out. I was like, wait a minute. Why is my microphone not picking up my voice? Anyway, so it was like 68.7 billion. I remember it being like, I keep rounding it to 70 billion. And I know it's like $1.3 billion is still like a shit ton of money, but it's like, I literally, when I woke up and saw the news, I think the first thing I saw was just like Activision Blizzard posting. They're like, hey, we're joining the Xbox team. And I was like, what do you mean by that? That can't be real. No one has enough money to buy Activision Blizzard. And I was like, later on in the, I think
Microsoft, $1 trillion company.
That's the thing. It's like, they're literally $1 trillion companies. It's like, no, they have money to spare. And so I guess if anyone was going to buy them, it was going to be Microsoft, or for some reason Apple. I don't know why that would be a thing, but like, or maybe Google or Amazon could have for their streaming
definitely
services,
prefer Microsoft over any of those three
for sure. And it's just, so I was just like, this news was such a huge news piece that I literally did not believe it at first until I saw multiple people talking about it.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, it went from, oh, a small news topic to this is the whole episode. And, you know, there's a lot to talk about for this. And like I said, we're going to start with all of the, you know, everything we've been talking about relating to Activision Blizzard before this has not been good, obviously. It's been all of the allegations, the misconduct, the attempts now for there were strikes, unionization, demands
really
for
funny.
Like people to you know, jump off, all the, you know, Bobby Kotick and stuff. They want them out. But
I find it really funny that one of the last things Microsoft said about it before this was we are rethinking our relationship with Activision Blizzard as a company or whatever. And it's
thought about it.
Yeah, we thought about it. We figured out we could just buy them and hopefully get rid of all the bad actors there.
Yeah.
That's one of the major hopes, is that like if Bobby Kotick does not want to go on his own and the board of directors doesn't care about what he's been allowing in their company, as long as he's making money for them, maybe Phil Spector can be like, get out of here, man.
Pretty much.
I bought your company.
I thought the funniest thing was, you know, that the Twitter account for the fake Kazurai Twitter account, ex-CEO Kazurai.
Yeah.
Did you see at Sony who wanted to make
that
a very strong...
I think that might have been the first thing I saw. And it was just like, we're never going to work with Activision Blizzard again. And I was like, whoa, that's nuts.
Yeah, if you guys check out ex-CEO Kazurai on Twitter. He's fantastic. He's pretty much stopped, but he posted...
I also forgot that Kazurai isn't the CEO of Sony anymore for a second. So that's why when I saw Kazurai saying that, I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah. But he said, like, at Sony, we wanted to make a very strong and principled stance against employee harassment, which is why 30 minutes ago we decided to never work with Activision Blizzard again, which is like
Yeah.
30 minutes ago was when like the purchase happened, and it was just
Or at least when it was announced, because like
yeah.
Phil Spector has said that
Spencer.
this is like, huh?
You said Phil Spector.
What? Phil Spencer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Okay. He said that like this is an extremely complicated business deal with like a lot of like it's got to go through being checked to see if it's like violating any antitrust laws or monopoly laws or stuff like that. So this deal probably won't be actually finalized for potentially another year and a half, but at least they've like announced it like, hey, we're taking steps, we're doing this, or at least as long as the government will allow us, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. And like I said, we're going to get through all that. The Monopoly stuff will come after the pretty much everything that has to do with all the shit that Activision's been going through first. And, you know, the first thing was Microsoft is now inheriting all of Activision Blizzard's pretty much current bad issues that it's got.
Just because they're being bought, I don't think that like gets rid of the lawsuit from the California Department of Labor.
Potentially not, no. And the thing too is the deal, like, you know, it said some people were saying the deal wouldn't happen until like June 2023 and it wouldn't go through, so it's like a year and a half from now.
Mm-hmm.
Others, it sounds like, you know, fiscal year 2023, which would mean like sort of that is June 2022 actually, or something, if I remember correctly.
That's
how that
so weird.
works.
Corporate years are.
I never
so
understood it, honestly. I don't really know. But point is, it sounds like it could be anywhere between June 2022 to June 2023 is when this deal would close out, and it would be official that Microsoft now owns Activision Blizzard and whatnot. And the thing there is, you know, all the sexual conduct, all the allegations. I think if everything progresses in time, like there's a lot that can happen before the deal's finished and before everything's in stone, because this is all when all the fights can happen. If it's just Activision Blizzard alone, you know, the court, you know, the state can take them to court, they could do all that stuff. All the employees can do what they need to for unionization, for demanding more things. Whereas, you know, if it moves to Microsoft, that changes quite a lot in terms of what they're capable of doing. Because Microsoft, if they're big enough to buy Activision Blizzard, they're big enough to handle a lot more than Activision Blizzard could in terms of, like, you know, all of that infighting and whatnot, if that makes sense. I guess the two things to look at here is, one, what happens during this time, and then two, what happens once Microsoft takes them. And I guess during this time, like I said, like, we're going to see what happens in the courts, potentially. Like, have they said exactly when this is going to happen? Like, when is the state going to do what they're going to do with them?
I haven't really been paying close enough attention for that, so I wouldn't know.
I haven't seen any updates is the thing. So I feel like if there were
same.
updates on it, we would have known by now. So, like, that kind of thing, it hasn't even happened yet. Otherwise, it would be everywhere, because not only now would it be, not only would it just be, you know, being shown and advertised that this is occurring or whatever news comes out of it, but now it's going to be amplified a lot more because of this deal, because now anything relating to them is going to pop off, because it's no longer like, oh, this is Activision Blizzard news. It's like, well, what does this mean for Microsoft? It brings in the whole other, like, thought here, and with that comes a lot more attention to everything. Like, just think about it, like, you know, people that maybe don't pay attention to video games, they didn't know anything about the Activision Blizzard stuff, and all of a sudden they just hear, Microsoft bought who? Activision Blizzard? What's going on with them? Oh shit, there's a lot of sexual misconduct and all this other stuff going on there. What the hell? Like, that's probably what's going to happen to the average person. Do you think
that might, like, reflect badly on Microsoft, or... Because I don't really think that's...
Yes and no.
For me, it's like... Well, maybe it's just because I have a little bit more context, because, like, for me, it's like they're buying that company hopefully to fix those problems.
Yes,
among other
exactly.
things.
I think...
But to the average person, they might see that and just be like, oh, Microsoft's cool with like buying a company that is like that does stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's what I'm a little bit worried about, but
Yeah,
I can't say for sure.
that's why I'm saying yes and no. Like, I feel like there can also always be, just like with anything else, when something happens, and especially if there's rumors, like there's going to be misinformation. There's going to be people just going like, it's like a game of telephone. They talk to one person, they talk to the next person, and by the end of it, they're going, yeah, Microsoft for some reason is like, condoning this, and they're fine like taking a company like this, whereas like others that might know more might be looking at it from a different perspective of like, actually Microsoft could probably make a lot of improvements here and fix a lot of the problems that are going on over there, which, once, like I said, there's before Microsoft gets them and after Microsoft gets them. After, as someone, like, I can't really say much, but as someone that has worked for Microsoft, I can say that they have a pretty strong HR and a pretty strong, like, full conduct of trainings and things to tell you about stuff. I think I don't know exactly what I can say, so I think that's all I will say. But like, from it, I learned like, oh, I could probably, if something happens, I would not have any issues having to go to someone to talk to about it. And I think that a lot of things people might want that they're demanding of Activision Blizzard, I feel like some of those would be addressed just by them switching over, becoming Microsoft employees, if that makes sense. Not everything, of course, will be handled, though. Like, one of the things was like, they demand Bobby Kotick be taken out. They want him removed. And from what it sounds like, when the deal finishes and Microsoft fully owns them, Bobby Kotick is supposed to leave.
It's kind of funny to see Bobby Kotick's responses to all this, because he keeps sending out like emails to the company saying stuff like, I plan to stay on as long as necessary to, help with the transition and stuff like that. So it sounds like he does not want to leave, and he's going to stick around until they like literally tell him you're out.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, with this whole, when a deal like this is going to happen, until the deal is done now, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft can't really talk anymore. Like, because otherwise it's kind of like metagaming, It's like they're doing stuff before it happens when legally they can't, because they're not apart yet. So they have to stay away from each other at this point until then. And with it now, that means Activision Blizzard still has to deal with all their own stuff. And with Bobby Kotick, like, the hard thing here is, how do you remove this man if the board doesn't want to remove him and he still has the most power? The only way to do that is through what Microsoft is doing, pretty much, because otherwise, like, there's no other way. And the sad part is, of course, with this deal and this purchase, you can imagine that he's going to get a lot of money out of this deal.
Oh, I mean, like,
but the issue there,
and it's already like, probably has a decent severance package.
Oh,
in his, contract.
I mean, like, all the bonuses that came up like before, but that's the thing. He wins no matter what, and this is just at least removing him from the board after this. So like that, you can't really expect them to do anything better than what they're currently doing. Just to keep that in mind, because when it's someone wealthy as Bobby Kotick and you have nothing, where it's like it's not like, oh, he did a full crime, like he raped a woman and he's gonna go to prison for it. Like, this isn't happening. So this is the closest we're gonna get to him being taken and stripped of his power. Unfortunately, he wins in a way, like, but it's, like I said, it's over at least.
He's still gonna leave with probably a decent chunk of money, but like, at the least, I hope that the employees of Activision Blizzard that have had to deal with like the horrible misconduct going on there, with like literally no one at the top caring, it seems.
Yes.
Like, hopefully things get better for them eventually, but
we'll like have to see. In terms of conduct, like, they need to get everything done now, and this is actually going to come into the next topic, but they need to do everything they need to do now before Microsoft purchases them, or Microsoft finishes and takes them in. Because, like I said, there will be improvements with Microsoft, but there's things that they want to do that they feel like they have more control and freedom to do, in terms of like, get justice against these people or get these changes they want done, that would be like it's like that thing where, you know, Microsoft, when they take a company, they're like, well, we're going to let them be kind of autonomous within us. It's like that, but before that's going to happen, and, you know, when they say that, it's usually creatively, they still want to get this stuff done, because otherwise, you know, you're going to have Microsoft lawyers and HR in there besides just the Activision ones, and that's double the amount to handle. So whatever they want to do, whether it's suing Bobby Kotick or whatever, they gotta, like I said, do it now before things get...
Oh, the employees you mean?
Yes, the employees.
Okay.
Whatever hits they want to make in, which brings into the next thing, unionization. That's been a very big topic as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, but Raven, a bunch of their QA testers formed a union.
Which makes absolute sense. Like, from what I've heard, like, being a QA tester in the games industry is just like so much mind-numbing work, and you get like no thanks, basically.
Yeah,
like you don't even get credited sometimes. So,
and this is from a article from IGN written by Jared Moore. This is a quote though from the Game Workers Alliance, which is, I believe, what they formed. They said, "We formed the Game Workers Alliance, CWA, because my colleagues and I want to have our voices heard, and we want to see changes that reflect the wants and needs of both the gaming community and the workers who create these incredible products. It's extremely important that workers have a real seat at the table to positively shape the company going forward," said Raven QA lead Brent Reel. And they say, "We ask that Activision Blizzard management respect Raven QA workers by voluntarily recognizing CWA's representation without hesitation. A collective bargaining agreement will give Raven QA employees a voice at work, improving the games they produce and making the company stronger. Voluntary recognition is the rational way forward." And Activision put out a statement afterwards, or Activision Blizzard. They said, here we go. "Activision Blizzard is carefully reviewing the request for voluntary recognition from the CWA, which seeks to organize around 36 of the company's nearly 10,000 employees. While we believe that a direct relationship between the company and its team members delivers the strongest workforce opportunities, we deeply respect the rights of all employees under the law to make their own decisions about whether or not to join a union. Across Activision Blizzard, we remain focused on listening closely to our employees and providing the improved pay, benefits, and professional opportunities needed to attract and retain the world's best talent. Over the past couple of years, this has included minimum compensation raising for Raven QA employees by 40%, extending paid time off, expanding access to medical benefits for employees and significant others, and transitioning more than 60% of temporary Raven QA staff into full-time employees." So they're saying, we'll think about it, basically.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I mean, I would like to hope that Microsoft just like lets this union keep going and like allows for more unionization, but
so this is the thing. If they inherit, like, with Microsoft, so far from when we've seen them take over stuff, they're like, we don't want to take away from you. Anything you have, you get to keep. Yeah. We'll just add on whatever we can, you know, with that, whatever, company discounts and whatever they got going on currently that Microsoft has that the other company didn't, they'll add into. So if they unionize in Activision before the purchase, I believe that Microsoft would have to let them stay with that when they take over. And that is the really big time-sensitive thing.
So you think a bunch of people should start unionizing now while, like, they would give them immunity?
I'm just saying that if they want... I'm not saying I think. I'm saying if they want to...
Right, okay.
Do this, they should do it before Microsoft takes over. And I had a source that isn't specifically video game union, but I've heard from someone, I'm not trying to, like I said, I just heard from someone that is a union type person that is like a representative in that fashion, or someone that, anyway, I heard enough sources that
I heard through the grapevine.
they would want to do it before Microsoft takes ownership, because if Microsoft takes ownership, it'll make it very, very difficult for that to occur. But also, it would probably just make it not happen at all. Like, it'd be like, well, we're doing enough. I'm not trying to go against Microsoft in any way. I'm just saying, hypothetically, like, I would imagine, Microsoft would be like, well, we're already doing all this for you guys. We're also fixing all these issues for you that you had with Activision. We removed the guy you didn't want there. Like, now you have all the benefits for working for us. You should be fine now. You don't need this. You can still try to do it, but, it's us, and we have $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So, if they want to do unionization, they have to do it while it's still Activision Blizzard solely, and not Microsoft's Activision Blizzard. So whatever time that is, and if it's starting with just Raven QA, and they still have to fight just against Activision Blizzard potentially, like, the only way it works, it's like, if it's a small amount of people, that's easy to crush and replace. If it's everyone, that's going to cause an issue. And potentially that's where the workers win, is if the workers unite, which, it's a whole thing of like, workforce rights, unionization, which has been a thing throughout American, if not world history, in different areas. Just look up Banana Republics, everybody, and see how that went.
Yeah.
Don't trust America, seriously.
That's like one of the scariest parts of American history, in my opinion.
We killed the workers in another country. Huzzah! We made money. But, like I said, they got to deal with this as fast as possible. They need a lot more people to do it. They need because obviously, the games industry is a very diverse place, specifically with types of positions and who those positions work with. Like, it's going to be pretty much like if the Q&A is making their own union, because pay is different for all these things. A lot of things are different for all these things. Some people are contracts, some people aren't. Like, you're going to see them do it. The art department will have their own. The sound department will have their own. The programming department will have their own. The coding department, etc., etc. Like, you're going to see these groups have to do it, but it'll probably be like that, where they have to make it within their own group. You just have to see it actually come to fruition and who's actually going to want to do it and put the effort in to do it. So we'll see what happens from there. It's obviously starting with Raven's QA team. I am very positive that we're going to see more. Maybe from Raven, but maybe from Blizzard and other Activision developers. I just don't know which ones, but I feel like we're going to probably see anywhere from like 4 to 5 more before the purchase is complete. A pop-up,
cool
at
to
least.
see, because like I know a lot of people are anti-union just because like they're not always easy to work with and stuff like that, and
of course, they might have their own forms of corruption sometimes, depending.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like, unions aren't like infallible either, but it's just like
it gives the workers a chance.
That's the thing. The amount of abuse against workers in this industry specifically is just like, it gets harder and harder to just say like, well, they could work somewhere else. It's like, not if like the entire industry is fucked though.
Yeah, I put it this way: it's easier to fix a corrupt union than it would be it would be easier to do that than to get a union. So I'd rather deal with the corrupt union than deal with not having a union at all, because at least that's going to be more fixable, because that's more of like in-house cleaning there versus the company that you have to fight tooth and nail potentially for years against, that's going to be much harder. So
I mean, not to make this like a history podcast or anything, but like the bit of U.S. history where like labor unions started to become a thing is like fascinating, because like people literally would just, before unions were a thing to demand better treatment of workers, you basically your entire life was just working, and then like going to probably your like factory setup, like what do you call them, like barracks, I guess. I mean, that's not exactly the right word I'm looking for, but like you basically would just like work all day, sleep for like 6 hours, get up,
use your company's fucking currency to purchase everything. You're not even paid in real money.
And so like if you like having a weekend nowadays and not having to work like 16 hours a day.
Yep.
Thank the labor unions.
And then if you get to if you're winning, you'll know you're winning is they'll start calling you a communist, and then they'll be like, these people are communists, don't work with them. So that's how fucking dumbass Red Scare bullshit. But God, it's so stupid. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And did you have anything else on that? I think that was pretty much
we covered that pretty good.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the inheriting of Microsoft taking Activision Blizzard. Like they'll deal with all that. They'll take care of the CEO. Bobby Kotick will be gone. He'll get money, whatever. He'll at least be gone. The workers, for sure, I think will have a better state of life when they go there. I
gotta hope so.
At least from personal experience, I don't know because I wasn't a developer. I was just a different type of Microsoft employee. But maybe they'll even have more if they unionize and before this happens, and they'll get the demands met for the most part, and probably have to maybe do smaller potential deals that they'll have to make with Microsoft. Who knows? But like this, I would say personally that they are probably better off with Microsoft in charge than Activision Blizzard. But, if they want to get their work done, they can do it now before that purchase is done. That's that. Now on to Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard, the deal significance of it, and then afterwards will be the monopoly talk. But this is the biggest deal in, I want to say, gaming history, right? Because before this, like, it's funny because the biggest thing I remember, at least in high school, I think, was, Activision and Blizzard merged. And we were like, oh, fuck. So that was big, but that was just those two merging.
I also just find it funny that, like, last week, we were talking about, I think it was last week, we were talking about
Take-Two buying Zynga.
Yeah, for like $12 billion. We were like, whoa, that's an unbelievable amount of money for Zynga.
Yeah.
And then like before that, it was like, oh my God, Microsoft bought all of ZeniMax Entertainment for $8 billion. That's insane.
Yeah.
And then it jumps all the way to like nearly $70 billion. That's nuts. And I mean, it makes sense because like literally
it's not even
Activision
doubled.
Blizzard.
It just went because it would be, if doubled would be like, it's 20 something $1 million or $1 billion, and be like, oh fuck, 20 billion, and it's like, no, I see that it's at 70.
Yeah,
it's fucking just like insane.
It makes sense because I literally, the reason why I did not believe the first post I saw about it was like, Activision Blizzard is such a huge company that makes so much money. I just didn't think that anyone would want to spend as much money as it would take to buy them. But yeah, now, like, I don't know if you want to go into like the properties that Microsoft now owns.
Yeah, we could do that.
It's an extensive list.
I found out because I rarely go on Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook. I only go because the stupid thing will be like notification. I'm like, oh,
yeah. I keep meaning to like post about what I'm doing every once in a while, but I don't think I've
You don't
touched
need
Facebook.
to. Why do you don't need to do that?
I don't know.
If you want to talk to people you want to talk to, you
years.
just talk to them,
Yeah.
But or just post pictures on Instagram, which also you don't need to do either. Social media is a fucking waste of time, but I do it anyway because I'm stupid.
It's depressing, and I can't live without it.
Yeah, fucking. It's like social media. Do it so you don't get depressed, but it'll make you depressed because you're using it.
It's a vicious cycle.
I think I was looking at one of the PlayStation groups on there, and it was an update, and I look, and they're like, Lamau, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, and I'm like, is this a joke? It's probably a joke, and because I see a lot of like just laugh emojis, and I'm like, oh, it must be some joke, and I look online, and I'm like, oh,
this isn't a joke. This is happening.
Yeah. So, yeah, biggest deal in gaming history, pretty much, and it brings into the question, like, is this a monopoly? And how much further can they go? And I guess, like, sorry, you said, like what are they inheriting?
I guess the monopoly thing would be a shorter thing. It's
the inheriting, I guess, would be faster, just the front facing of, like, So they're getting, what was it? It's Activision Blizzard, which also has King in it.
Yeah, I like
the mobile company.
So they also own Candy Crush now.
Yes. So, looking through the three stems there, you have Activision. Within Activision is I'm trying to remember all of it, but hang on one sec. It's the Call of Duty studios, of course, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, Raven Software. There used to be others, but they keep getting folded pretty much. There's also High Moon Studios. I believe. Hang on, let me make sure I can see them all. High Moon, which Treyarch, Call of Duty Black Ops guys, Infinity Ward, the Modern Warfare guys for the most part. Sledgehammer, random Call of Duty guys.
Yeah.
They get like World War II and what was the newest one? Vanguard and shit. Raven Software, they've been working on what do you call it? Warzone plus, they did Singularity, Wolfenstein, other shit. High Moon Studios, you'll know them as like the guys that did the War for Cybertron games. Like they did that among other things. I believe they're pretty much just working on Call of Duty now too. Beanox, also pretty much just doing Call of Duty games. Demonware and Toys for Bob. And Toys for Bob were the guys that did, like, I believe the Spyro Insane trilogy. Or the Spyro trilogy and Crash 4. I want to say is what Toys for Bob did. And then Demonware. I don't know who Demonware is. I think that might be the Candy Crush team. I don't really know anything about them.
I don't know.
But they're getting them. Oh, those are all like the Activision developers. They're kind of like all separate, whereas, then there's Blizzard, and Blizzard's just called Blizzard. And of course, like, Activision currently has just been making Call of Duty solo. That's it. Just Call of Duty games. They used to have a lot of other things, but it's purely just Call of Duty now. Whereas Blizzard, they make Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft, and StarCraft are like the main current ones. And currently they're working on Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are like the next things, plus that mobile game Diablo Immortal, I believe.
Yeah.
And then King is a shit ton of mobile games, including Candy Crush. Like, I believe there's more than just Candy Crush. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like a lot of. It
probably is more than just Candy Crush. It's just like I literally only ever hear Candy Crush from them.
Yeah, but I'm like positive they have a lot more going on there, because that's like one of the highest grossing mobile companies, I feel like, of all time, besides Zynga. Probably second to Zynga, if not. I'm not sure. Candy Crush probably makes a fuck ton of money, even though I've never downloaded it. I don't understand it. Whatever, people like shit. So they're getting all of that, in addition to everything they already have, which is, all their first party studios they've been having, that whole expansion of individual developers that Microsoft got, to then ZeniMax, which included so many different Bethesda company studios, and now they have this. And, that's a lot.
Yeah. And, like, that's the thing. Like, what I'm now worried about is, like, if Microsoft has so much spare money to just, like, buy whoever they want, apparently, like, what happens if they just start trying to buy all the AAA third-party developers? Like, if they could buy Activision Blizzard, they could absolutely buy Ubisoft. They could absolutely buy EA, I think. Like,
I mean, it's like how do I beat the competition? Oh, I bought the competition.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I'm now, and I know eventually probably like antitrust laws would kick in, because they could literally, if they keep doing this, they could almost effectively kill PlayStation, because it would just leave it. I mean, PlayStation has great exclusives, but can you imagine if they didn't have like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and like all the other things that like the EA Sports, like, that's the thing. Eventually people will just be like, well, why would I want a PlayStation? Because literally everything else is on Xbox. So I don't know. That's the one thing I'm worried about. And it's kind of nice to see Phil Spencer, making comments like, I've been in communication with the heads of Sony and PlayStation. I'm assuring them that we have a desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So hopefully for things like that are really popular on all the consoles, like Call of Duty, it would make sense that Microsoft would maybe keep that multi-platform, just because it's like, well, do we want to make some money by putting it on Game Pass, or do we want to make some money by putting it on Game Pass and a shit ton of money from like people buying it on PlayStation?
We'll definitely be covering that in the next thing. Like, we'll be pretty much talking about PlayStation
Yeah.
in the next portion. For the monopoly itself, so there's a few different ways to look at this, I guess. Like, there's as a consumer. Um, if you're an Xbox player, you're kind of winning here. But
Oh, absolutely. Especially
uh,
like you don't even need an Xbox. You just need a Game Pass subscription
and a
and you can
PC
play
maybe, or
all
yeah,
these
or
things on the
XCloud,
cloud.
yeah. So the question, like, is it a monopoly currently? Doing this, do you feel like Microsoft owning all their all their in-house studios originally, all those individual devs they bought, ZeniMax, and now Activision Blizzard? Do you feel like they're a monopoly now?
It's hard for me to say they're a monopoly at this point, but it's definitely like getting close though. Because at this point, like it's mostly like buying, but ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard is what's like those two alone are so massive that it does feel like all of a sudden Microsoft owns a large part of at least the AAA third party market. I mean, obviously, there's still a bunch of indie games that would come to all consoles and stuff, but it's, I guess, long story short, I don't think this would be a monopoly yet, but I could be proven wrong.
Um, I'd say I'd compare this a little bit to just to show, like, I guess, kind of like an outside version. Disney. Look at Disney. Do you think
Hmm.
Disney is a monopoly?
I mean, they're definitely getting close there.
They're pretty close. I personally think they are nearly there, especially the fact that they have all the Lucasfilm properties. They have Marvel. They
Yeah.
have uh fucking Fox. I think that's the biggest thing. If they got
Hmm.
one more thing, I would consider them a complete monopoly. Like, I'd be like, oh shit, okay, you guys are like,
I think what makes it
because it's like,
difficult.
look at the fact that they just real fast. Look at the fact that they are pretty much trying to corner the entire theatrical market with every
Yeah.
single month, where they try to own every single month, which, I don't blame them. If I had that much shit too, I'd probably do that as well. But it's still, the fact that it's happening either way. And with Microsoft, they are getting close, kind of, depending on how development's a little bit more intricate. Like, it's a lot more complicated to have timed development than it is to have a movie timed perfectly for a release.
Yeah.
When you see a release date for a movie, you're like, okay, cool, it's probably going to happen that time, unless there's COVID involved. Whereas games even before COVID, hey, look, another delay. So it's never like more, it gets more complicated there. But with the amount of developers producing all these things and churning them out, the odds of, like, conflicting games, or games now where they're like, well, this will be our January game, this is our February game, like, you're getting actually somewhat close with, because what are their development team now is in terms of studios, is now in the 30s, I want
Yeah.
to say.
It's like they have a huge stable of studios all of a sudden.
Yeah. So, if they're making things and they're all on different intervals and stuff, but that's close to, like, yeah, we could put out 12 games a year and one comes out a month. Like, that's getting achievable. Um I don't think they're a monopoly. I do think if they bought another studio, I don't think they're a monopoly still. If they bought like a couple more studios, I think they're still okay for the most part if they're small studios. If they're buying another publisher, I think we're talking, um we're then entering a different area now, because now they're like, well, now we own this too. It's like if Disney has everything currently, and then they said, well, now we're gonna buy, I don't know, A24. I think that's enough where it's like, oh, okay, shit, that might be too much for you guys. You should stop now. Or I don't know, A24 is kind of small. If they bought, like, I don't know, CBS or Paramount, I think if they bought Paramount, like, that's a monopoly
Yeah.
completely. So if Microsoft bought, like, Capcom, I think that's going too far at this point. Like, that would be
Yeah.
too much. And the difference, of course, like, people are trying to compare. They're like, I've seen different comments, and personally, this doesn't affect me at all. In fact, I win out of this personally, because I the only thing from here that was console was Call of Duty, and the last time I bought Call of Duty was on PC. And Call of Duty would probably go to Game Pass for PC, so I'm like, I'm gonna get all these, and if they fix everything, and I don't have to basically boycott Activision Blizzard anymore,
Yeah, that'd be super
I
nice.
can go on Game Pass. I could play StarCraft. I could play WoW. I don't want to play WoW. I can play StarCraft. I can play Diablo. I can play Call of Duty and not care. And I don't have to pay anything more than I'm already paying for Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like, I'm winning.
Like, that's the thing,
Why
it's
wouldn't
like-
I want that?
They are just making Game Pass more and more of a thing that, like, if you play any kind of games, you should probably get. I just thought it was really funny that, like, I subscribe to a bunch of news podcasts that just like general news, not video game news. And one of them actually mentioned the Activision Blizzard merger. The Activision Blizzard acquisition. But it was really funny because I got the impression that they don't really follow the game industry at all. So they never once mentioned Game Pass. And they were like, this is clearly Microsoft's attempt at getting into the metaverse by like buying as many properties as possible. And I'm like, I think you missed the point there.
Yeah. No, they definitely did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm personally winning out of this. I'm okay with it. I've kind of left that whole, for the honestly, more or less, I would say there's still maybe little bits of me in it, but I've pretty much left that console war, stream war, all that shit. I don't care, because I've more adopted the mindset of, why am I going to fight for billion-dollar companies that I'm already giving enough money to when they can handle everything themselves? Talking a meaningless argument online with people that will not affect any outcome of what happens to these games and who buys them and everything else. What's the point of that? That's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So, and I'd rather just play whatever and enjoy myself and move on. And if I'm going to argue about something, maybe argue about something that's worth arguing about instead of doing some shit online like that and trolling people. Doesn't make any sense. So I think, though, like I said, if they bought another big publisher after this, it would be getting into big grounds here, because not like there's still other publishers. It's the issue of the fact of the sheer size difference, where they can dictate more in terms of, like, I don't know, I feel like game releases and everything else, they can pretty much like corporate bully other places if they really felt like it, in which they kind of already could to Sony in a way. Just because, like look at MLB The Show. That was hilarious. Like, it went on game. That felt, I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's like a small example, kind of, a little bit. But that's also more like, that's MLB being MLB at the same time, giving Sony shit.
Yeah, that felt more like MLB just saying, like, wait a minute, why don't we want more money?
And Microsoft was like, we'll give you more for Game Pass. And they're like, deal. And then Sony's like, fuck. So it just depends on who they'd pick next if they try to go for it. Because before this happened, it sounded like they were trying to get more into the Japanese market and get a Japanese publisher, which, if they did this instead, it makes sense. Why get a Japanese publisher when you could get Activision Blizzard? Who wouldn't want to get Activision Blizzard? And, they're a little bit more affordable because of all the shit, probably tanking their stocks.
Probably, yeah.
So, like, I get it, but this is probably where it should stop, because at that point, it just feels like they're trying to buy quality instead of make quality. If you go past this, if that makes sense. Like, think about it. If you ask me now, like, before they even bought Bethesda, before they bought all those individual studios, and you ask me, like, oh, well, did they have any good studios? And be like, oh, there's the Coalition and 343. I'd be like, yes, it's fine, whatever. Like, there's nothing special about them. I haven't seen like a killer game come out of either of them, so whatever. And even look at Gears 5 and Halo Infinite, still a lot to be desired at the same time. Like, they're not hitting. I don't feel what I felt with Halo, like 1 through 3 or Gears 1 through 3 at all.
Same. Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have, oh look, it's Double Fine, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, and a bunch of others, and Rare, and you're like, oh, they have Obsidian? They have the Fallout New Vegas guys? Oh shit, okay. Well, they're making shit now. and all of a sudden now they're like, oh, we have Bethesda, and they have Bethesda Game Studios, which is good and bad because it's Todd Howard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, they have all them Arcane, fucking ZeniMax Online, like id Machine Games, like, oh, that's really good. They can make stuff. And now they have Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Blizzard. That's power. And those are all studios that can make great games, more so than what they already had. And like I said, like I just feel like at a certain point it does feel like oh, these are guys that can make great games versus our guys that can make okay games. And it feels like they are just buying quality at this point. It's kind of like quantity too, but they're just like, oh, cool, well, now we have everything, and we don't have to worry about. It's one of those things that erases we don't have to worry about like the quality of our games for what we already have, because now we have so much that we'll never get a complaint again, kind of like just because of the sheer amount of different games and studios we can just have dished out. If that makes sense, right?
No, it's just funny that like years ago I was complaining that like, oh, like this is why I have a PlayStation and play my PlayStation more often, is that like PlayStation has more exclusives and Xbox, just for me at least, has Halo and Gears. And now it's like, shit, they have like everything I play.
Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, probably all exclusive now. And yeah, I mean, monopoly-wise, overall, not a monopoly. I think that they got another big publisher. It would be a monopoly just sheerly out of the fact that they're bullying the market, potentially.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I see. Anything else, at least about the monopoly itself, before we move to the next thing?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So, with that said, PlayStation and the talk of exclusivity, multi-platform, what will PlayStation do now and how it affects them? So, ironically, I feel like people might think I'm crazy, but I think Microsoft buying Bethesda was a bigger deal for PlayStation than Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard.
It's hard to say, because like really the main thing there is Activision with Call of Duty. Everything else, like all the Blizzard stuff, except for Overwatch, like all of that stuff is mostly a little bit Diablo, I guess.
So 3 games, 3 franchises.
But like everything else is
PC?
Generally PC exclusive. So it's like World of Warcraft probably was never going to come to PlayStation anyway. You
don't want it. PlayStation players, you don't want that game. Like, you don't want it. Please don't buy that game.
Like StarCraft and Warcraft, probably never going to come to PlayStation anyway. They're probably not even going to come to Xbox, but they're
don't play RTSs on your console. It's stupid, guys.
Like Halo Wars worked fine, but it's like I'd still probably rather play that on a PC.
Just mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, and it's just like, so at least for the Blizzard side of things, except for Overwatch, there's almost nothing there that really I would miss on PlayStation.
So here's where we get into it. Look at there's a mix of things. One, and we'll just talk about exclusivity here and like kind of multi-platform stuff for Sony and Microsoft, and then we'll get to like kind of what Sony's gonna deal with now. But looking at the past of what Microsoft has so far, Minecraft, multi-platform, fully supported on other consoles, still completely supported to anything new.
Yeah,
comes to everything. Switch, PlayStation, iPhone, I believe, everything.
Oh yeah.
Minecraft Dungeons, separate game completely, still came to PlayStation
and Switch.
And Switch. So they're not opposed to fully taking things away. They did say, certain things will still happen, but like at least like there was hopes, at least, specifically Double Fine and Obsidian might still make multi-platform stuff, which is seeming a lot less likely now, at least specifically for Obsidian. I think Double Fine might still get a chance, but that's I don't know, because I think really they mainly care about PC more than anything. But Minecraft Dungeons, Elder Scrolls Online is still on PlayStation. It is a fully supported MMORPG from Elder Scrolls done by ZeniMax Online,
Oh
and
yeah,
they
huh.
still have it. Well, Fallout 76 fully supported on PlayStation still, and will continue to do so as long as that game has breath. Now, we're looking then at a mix of things. Mojang Games. Is it Mojang or Mojang? Always, I think it's Mojang.
I've heard it both ways, but
I'll just say
yeah.
Mojang. Mojang Games still multi-platform. Certain Bethesda games still multi-platform. Now you look at Activision Blizzard, and of course, at least before, like Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6 are going to be exclusive, and they're not going to come out on PlayStation. We could tell already. Well, Starfield is. Elder Scrolls, you can kind of guess at this point it's going to be
Yeah.
exclusive. Which, PlayStation players, like I said, specifically with Bethesda Game Studios, PlayStation players always got the shit end of the stick anyway. So you guys deserve better. Don't even, shit happened, all right? With this, World of Warcraft and StarCraft, like James said, PC. It doesn't, they don't even need to put it on Xbox. I don't think they should. Just keep it to
No.
PC. Now, Diablo and Overwatch are the two bigger things, because Diablo was multi-platform. That actually came to consoles.
Yeah.
Diablo 3 specifically.
Like for a long time, it was only on PC, but they did eventually make Diablo 3 on.
And Diablo 4, I
consoles.
believe, is multi-platform already, right? They said it was like they were developing it for.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't, because Diablo 3 did very well on all the consoles it came to.
And then
Shit, I even bought it
Overwatch.
2 times. I bought it on PlayStation and I bought it on Switch.
Overwatch also multi-platform. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, they're both, some semi-supported, and anything new coming to Xbox will still come to PlayStation. I can guarantee that. For those for specifically Diablo 3 and Overwatch 1. Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, on the other hand, this is where it gets a little nitty-gritty, because on one hand, these have been getting developed for PlayStation.
I mean, Overwatch 2 was announced years ago.
And Sony did say they want their contracts honored, and Microsoft said they would honor contracts.
Yeah, Phil Spencer has said so far that they plan to honor all existing contracts.
I would think, at least for now, Diablo and Overwatch will continue to be on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Overwatch 2 specifically for two reasons. One, microtransactions. It's money. And if it's still free on Game Pass, it's free on Game Pass. They are going to win either way. For Diablo, since it's probably much farther out than Overwatch 2. I could be wrong. I don't really know which one's closer than the other. But I think, honestly, if they've developed anything for PlayStation so far, there is a chance that it should still come to PlayStation. But, that remains to be seen, considering Starfield was going to come to PlayStation. And I think before Microsoft bought Bethesda, Sony was trying to get in talks to see if it could be a form of exclusive, at least timed or something. So
that would have been interesting.
I mean, considering they did it for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, it wouldn't have been surprising. So it's hard to say what really will happen with those. But the one, like I said, those didn't come out yet. So technically, there's no probably full 100% contract in those. It remains to be seen where those are, I would say, the only two maybes. Like, maybe Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 come to PlayStation. After that, if there was ever an Overwatch 3 or Diablo 5, 20 years from now, that would probably be exclusive. But, just thoughts there. Where Call of Duty, people have been talking about it. It seems like the industry is kind of split on what would happen. Personally, I think it would be ridiculous if Call of Duty went exclusive. That would be...
Yeah.
It's like losing money. You'd be losing money.
That's
but
the
also,
thing. It's like, I don't believe that Microsoft would make back the amount of money that they would make off of like Game Pass subscriptions over what they would lose from PlayStation not having Call of Duty.
Well, here's two things about it. One, like, people are saying, like, they could see everything from Activision Blizzard being fully exclusive by 2024. And I could kind of see why. But here's the reason why it can't now, but it could later. All the things that Sony still gets to use that Microsoft owns now, or the things that are on PlayStation that are currently still supported, are perpetual games. They're games that aren't ending. They continue to thrive and continue to live.
Yeah, like
Call of
Warzone.
Duty, Warzone is the same thing. They can't take Warzone away, and also they can't stop updating it, and it updates with each new entry of Call of Duty. Hence, why they can't stop making Call of Duty for PlayStation as well. And yeah, like Jim said before.
Well, they could still do something like Warzone is still a thing. It's still updated with new content, but it's used to incentivize you to maybe come over to Xbox and play like the standalone title every couple of years or something like that.
That's the thing. I don't think they're gonna stay all the way in. I don't think they're gonna lift it away, because that would be, it wouldn't make any sense just to make a campaign that's only played by some people, because a lot of work is put into those, and there's already, sometimes they don't even know why they make campaigns in the first place. Sometimes, like we've seen campaigns get skipped sometimes.
Yeah, I also feel like Sony would even maybe pay Microsoft to still release Call of Duty on their console, because they still make a cut of like every copy that's sold on their console on their marketplace. So
exactly. So
Sony wants some of that money still.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Like Jim said, there's Game Pass. PC and Xbox players get it with Game Pass, whereas PlayStation players will have to buy it, and both Sony and Microsoft get money. Microsoft, the majority, Sony like, 30% or something. Same with all the microtransactions in there, and both companies don't want to lose those microtransactions because they would both win out of it. There's no losing there, and Game Pass does enough on its own now that convinces people, like, if you're someone that wants to buy something, like, there's enough people probably that have already been turned to Xbox just because of Game Pass, because they're like, oh, I just have to pay for this one thing and I get everything here. Perfect. Cool. And now I'm getting Call of Duty with it. Dope. And Warzone is going to keep everything in there for PlayStation, and each entry Call of Duty will then still remain on PlayStation 2. Here's how Microsoft could eventually make Call of Duty exclusive. Remember Blackout? Blackout was the first iteration, and then Warzone was the spiritual successor, which Blackout was more of, honestly, it looked like an experiment more than anything, and Warzone was like the full-on product afterwards. Will Warzone stay? Because it could get supported like Fortnite and World of Warcraft, where it gets updated with new graphics and stuff, kind of like there's new like graphic patches and whatnot to keep it current, or they update the engine or something. But let's say if they make a new engine and they want a new game from the ground up, they would then potentially end Warzone or make like a Warzone 2.0, same name, different name, who knows. But if it's a brand new named thing that's not Warzone, then it wouldn't be something they would have to honor with PlayStation, because PlayStation never had it to begin with. And that's when they start making Call of Duty exclusive. But it remains to be seen if they would do that. And also, we wouldn't know about that until, I don't know how many years from now, 2-3 years from now at the earliest, when there's rumors of, hey, there's a new version of Warzone coming, or a new, like, a renamed Warzone and stuff. And that's what would happen. And it's like new engine and everything else. Like, that's when we'd see it, which is why, that's the speculation. Some would say why 2024 would be everything exclusive to Xbox. So, look out in 2 years and we'll see. Like, this isn't something we'll find out anytime soon until they know exactly what's going to happen with the future of Call of Duty afterwards. Which even then, there's news of Call of Duty potentially. Well, actually, that's going to come later. That's going to come later with like individuality, the freedoms of developers. But that's kind of what I think, at least for how it's going to affect Sony with the deal specifically of like the properties that they usually utilize. Did you have anything else on that one?
No, I think we covered it pretty extensively.
Okay. Now, how does Sony respond to this? Because, like we already just talked about, Sony's like, honor the shit, damn it. And Microsoft's like, we're going to honor the shit. Haha, we're winning either way. We're getting money. What does Sony do? Does Sony... Here's a couple things. Which one was, we never really talked about it, but from what it sounds like, Sony does have a Game Pass coming out. I mean, a more updated version that's not PlayStation Now. Like, PlayStation Now cards are apparently, some of them are being recalled in the UK. They're getting phased out.
Yeah.
And there have been sneak like leaks of PS3 games on the PlayStation Store. And the whole thing leading up to it is PlayStation is, I think it's inevitable now. Like, we're going to see it this year. I just don't know when. But PlayStation is going to have a version of Game Pass that I think will have multiple generations in it. And I mean, like, potentially all of them. It'll have games that are PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Potentially, maybe, I would hope, PSP and Vita. And if they have it, and they don't have to have everything yet, and they could have small amounts of everything in the beginning, but imagine all of their libraries eventually coming in here. From Metal Gear Solid to the Resistance trilogy, Infamous trilogy, or Infamous 1 and 2 and stuff, to Siphon Filter, Twisted Metal. All these classic games are in there. If Microsoft didn't buy all this shit, like, look at Sony's full history of their catalog. Even without putting their new games in there day one, like God of War and everything else, they would be having a field day, because I would honestly want to play there more practically because of all the classic games. And specifically, I just want to play Resistance. And
yeah, no, I have like I have way more nostalgia for the PlayStation history of games than Xbox. So if they could figure out how to, like, I don't know if they would necessarily be able to do what Microsoft does, where you could like put in one of your old discs and your Xbox just like reads it and it's like, oh, well, download the digital like file, and as long as we can see that you own this game, we'll let you play it. I don't know if Sony would let you do that on the PS5. That'd be pretty cool. Might be kind of hard because PlayStation 1 discs were CDs, which is like uses a different laser technology, I'm pretty sure, but
yeah. But well, it all remains to be seen. I feel like we're going to see it sometime in the next 6 months. I think we'll see it by June, if anything. Otherwise, what do they do now? Besides that, just in terms of like, that's cool, but now Microsoft has like 3 times as many studios as you do. And at least for sure, like I said, quantity versus quality, we know what the Sony studios can do. We know that straight up, they churn out Game of the Year games practically. Like, usually, yeah. If Naughty Dog makes a game, that game's probably going to be Game of the Year, no matter what anyone else does, unless it's fucking Red Dead. It's not going to... Even then, Red Dead didn't stand a chance.
I mean, like, the last flop I can think of was Destruction All-Stars, and that was like a smaller studio.
And that wasn't even a first-party studio. That was a second-party.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, their stuff is, like...
Maybe The Order 1886? Way
second
back
party.
then?
That was also the second party. That studio was bought by Facebook. That was Ready at Dawn.
Ready at Dawn was bought by Facebook?
Yeah, they're an Oculus studio now.
What? I totally forgot about that. Oh,
yeah, that was an earlier episode. That was way earlier episode. That was like pre-100, way before 100.
No wonder I don't remember.
Like, I think that was like pre-50. I want to say. I'm not even sure.
Damn, I've been hoping for a
Order
1887 for a while.
You're not getting that shit.
1987.
Bro, we're still let's get a Resistance before that, thanks, or an Infamous. You know, I'd be happy about that more. But they have at least really, really great studios, and Microsoft now has studios that can also produce Game of the Years, but not all of them can. Obviously, you know, who unless you're a total dude that just plays like, it's like the Mega 64 Todd and Aaron Game of the Year awards, where they're 2 bro dudes that are like, oh yeah, Game of the Year, it's either Call of Duty or Madden. Like, you're never gonna hear that for an Activision studio, probably, because it's like, unless they, like I said, if they go back to their creative routes and do whatever, odds are Call of Duty is not going to be Game of the Year. The closest has been Modern Warfare since Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
Blizzard, you know, they're going to be competing with Overwatch and Diablo. Besides that, Bethesda's got their Starfield game, and then whatever else, which, you know, Starfield could be, but also it's Bethesda, and, you know, shit's going to get broken fast. So it's, you know, you want a game that works. Whereas, like, the quantity still comes up. And you think like, well, if Microsoft keeps buying things, will Sony just be screwed? Does Sony have to buy something?
I've been hearing people say Sony should buy either EA or I think it's mostly just EA, because somehow people think that that's like doable.
Battlefield, that's why.
Mm.
And also the fact that, dude, Respawn itself is its own powerhouse. Like, think about it. If Sony bought EA,
right, yeah,
you're getting Jedi Fallen Order, you're getting Apex. You now have a Battle Royale game. A very successful one, albeit. Especially top 3 Battle Royale games right now.
Yeah.
They'd have that. They'd have Battlefield. They'd have Dead Space. They would have, like I said, a Star Wars. They'd have a Star Wars game. They would have... they'd have Sims.
Yeah, okay.
Sims and...
I know it's huge, but it's just not for me.
EA Sports.
That would be the big thing, yeah.
Madden, NHL, golf.
Yeah.
And kind of basketball, but no one wants that one because they want the 2K version. So, I think, though, they'd have football and baseball. They have 2 of the 3 biggest sports in the country. And FIFA, they'd have the biggest sport in the world.
Yep.
I forget about FIFA, shit. So
$1 billion game right there.
EA would be a big one for them to get. It's still also very hard to achieve because EA is still very valuable because of the sports games alone. Like, everything else is big. Battlefield is big, but the biggest money makers are for sure probably the sports games, and that's probably what makes them so valuable. I would say they are probably the big 4 things that Sony could get is EA. I think the other one, I don't think Ubisoft. I really don't think Ubisoft. I think either EA, if they want another big one, and if they want to just corner the Japanese market completely and just take away from Microsoft any chance of certain things, Square Enix.
That I could see, because they've been
imagine
very
Final Fantasy being a first-party game.
I could see that for sure.
I mean, one other one could be Capcom. That would actually be insane because how many people love Resident Evil and Street Fighter? They already made Street Fighter 5 exclusive.
That's the other thing, is Street Fighter is already exclusive to PlayStation, so they've had like dealings in the past anyway.
Those are probably the 2 biggest Japanese studios, and the other thing, which is a smaller one, but they have the probably single-handed biggest developer, would be Bandai Namco, because they would get From Software. And if they secured From Software, they would then own the Souls franchise and all that come around it. That would be that. I mean, how many people? A Souls game is a console seller, whatever it comes on. So imagine that being exclusive to PlayStation. People would buy PlayStation games, PlayStations just for Dark Souls or Elden Ring and shit. The other big one, I would say, the only other big one that they would want to get is Take-Two. Because Take-Two is 2K.
That would be very interesting.
And more importantly, Rockstar. Imagine PlayStation saying first party and exclusive Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead. Specifically Grand Theft Auto Online. How do you beat that? How do you beat that?
That's the thing. Like, that makes so much money on its own that I don't know. It's weird because like none of this really feels like it reaches even close to like the Activision Blizzard.
Oh no, that's still gonna be the biggest. But it's like
altogether though, like if Sony just starts buying a bunch of these studios, like,
well, I don't think they would do. They can't afford all of them. I highly doubt they can afford all of those studios. I think they could just afford one. They could afford one of those studios. It's just I think those are the big 4 they could go for, and if they were going to go for one, those are the 4 they should go for. Either Take-Two, because specifically out of everything they've got, the most important is Grand Theft Auto. EA, because of the sports games, but also all the shooters and potential Star Wars stuff they could do.
Yeah.
Square Enix, because it's pretty much Japanese RPG gold mine. And then Capcom, Resident Evil, and Monster Hunter. I forgot Monster Hunter. Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, and Street Fighter would just corner 3 different genres right there. and give them a lot of power. Also, that would not only take away from Xbox and Microsoft, that would take away from Nintendo. Hear a Nintendo person go, wait, we can't play Monster Hunter anymore? And then, yeah, the shit's only on PlayStation now, dude.
Yeah.
Whether they should or not, I'm gonna abstain personally, because that's another thing. That's another one where I win. I guess it doesn't really do much to me, because when it comes to those areas, if it's Take-Two games, if it's Square Enix games, even though I don't really play those, Capcom games or EA games, I pretty much play almost everything on console on PlayStation anyway. So they already have me with those ones. The only thing I think I'm playing on PC now is Apex and Battlefield specifically. Otherwise, Star Wars, I'm going to do that on console. I'd rather play on PlayStation. So it's like all but 2 games I play on PC. And even then, like, we see Sony pushing towards PC anyway. There's that, like, they're making such a big deal out of God of War going there. But that's what I think. I think that's what I don't think they should or shouldn't. I'm indifferent. But if they did, I think that's what they should do, is one of those big 4, or just buy From Software.
Yeah. That it's really hard to say which one of those would be like the most worthwhile. Probably EA, but
yeah,
we'll see what Sony does.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all of a wait and see and everything, because they've been buying studios. It's just been strategic, singular studios for singular reasons. Like, they're going at a very different pace than Microsoft. They've been going like, well, we could use them for this specific purpose, for this one thing. We want this studio, whereas Microsoft is like, and just like sucks a whole like black hole into the world. So it's been like you could tell that difference very easily.
Yeah.
And then we pretty much talked about like exclusive versus multi-platform. I think this is where we get into the real fun of it, I guess. And we are at like an hour and a half, so we'll like kind of get through it. But the Activision catalog and Blizzard catalog, pretty much when this deal is done, there's a guarantee they're going to come to the Game Pass. And we're looking at, cool, probably on PC and Xbox, people can now play Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Overwatch and Diablo and StarCraft on Xbox and or on PC for all of those, and then Call of Duty, more importantly, and Overwatch on Xbox and stuff. I think the craziest part, and I bet it's going to happen, is WoW will be free to play on Xbox or free to play on PC.
Yeah,
for
that'll
Game
be
Pass.
super interesting.
If you're subscribed to Game Pass, you get World of Warcraft. So that'll be pretty big. The other thing is look at that whole catalog of older games. Hey, we just put Warcrafts 1 through 3 on Game Pass for PC. Hey, we put what was the old Blizzard games they made before that? Those are on here too. Like, I don't remember what they're called, but they're like older games. Look, all the Transformers games that we used to make are on Game Pass. Gun is on Game Pass. Tony Hawk is on Game Pass. If you still got the guitars, Guitar Hero is on Game Pass. Yeah. Like all of it. Spyro, Crash, which I think that's the one thing also I forgot to mention, guys. The only thing I think would actually be pretty dirty, I personally think this would be actually pretty fucked up, is any future iterations of Crash and Spyro being Xbox exclusive would be actually pretty mean. That would be really mean. It's not even like a business thing. That's just mean to do that to PlayStation just because of their relationships with those franchises.
It's like their history is like completely intertwined.
That is their PlayStation 1 history. That's even pre-Microsoft, pre-Xbox being around. You just see Crash run outside the Nintendo office and talk shit. Like, that's a staple. Like, I would personally say don't take that away, because that would actually that's fucking bullying right there. But otherwise, yeah, there's all these old IPs you can see coming to Game Pass. Is there a specific franchise or game you want to see come back and basically be put on there for everyone to play? Which one?
I don't know. Like that's the thing. I don't really have much history with like Activision Blizzard other than Call of Duty.
Not the
So,
Transformers games, like War for
oh,
Cybertron and shit. You don't want to see that on Game
mm,
Pass?
that might be interesting. I don't know. I remember
Maybe
playing
the old
some of
Spider-Man
those.
games if they could still put them on there and shit,
That'd be super weird,
right?
but maybe.
I would personally love to see Gun come on Game Pass. I
Gun
want
would
to.
be great. I remember trying. That was one of the first games I played on 360, and I never finished it, but I remember liking it a lot until I got into like Red Dead.
Now, uh, yeah, everything would come to Game Pass. I don't even think they'd raise prices. They might if they're like. That's the thing. They would have reason to raise their prices if they wanted to. Think about it.
Yeah.
If they said Game Pass is just like a few dollars more a month, if not maybe like a couple $10-$20 more a year, Game Pass Ultimate, and then they go, well, you get Call of Duty now and World of Warcraft and Overwatch. I think people wouldn't complain if they said that specifically. Just say the name of those three games and people would not say shit, and they'd be like, okay, that's fine, yeah, do it, that's okay. Also, you're getting all these Activision games too on top of that, to the point where now they're needing less and less of other licenses from other other publishers to like purchase for limited times to come on there, because now they have their own in-house library that's big enough now to supply Game Pass. So that's a big deal. The other things here is the possibilities, because that's more of a given, James, right? Like we know for sure that's going to happen when they have full ownership. All these past games are going to come to Game Pass. We're going to get all this stuff. It's going to be pretty cool. But Call of Duty specifically, I'm trying to find the article really fast, but will it still be annualized? What do you think?
Hmm. Oh, you were asking. I thought you were saying trying to pull up an article.
I'm still pulling up the article,
Oh,
but
I don't know. I mean, so far we've already heard Microsoft say that like they're thinking about taking it off of annual releases and maybe doing every like couple years, but we'll see how that turns out. Um, I think that would be good for the studio or for the series because like it just feels like we've gotten the same Call of Duty with like minor changes that don't really matter uh, for the last decade. Because they basically like Activision basically just set up a few studios to just like hand off, well, not exactly hand off development for each game, but just like you have three studios working on a game at a time, and they just like kind of timed it so that they come out every year. And with that rigid of a schedule and not like working until it's just done in a good product, it doesn't feel like there's any inspiration in the series anymore. It's just, it's the next Call of Duty, buy it. So
just like one other certain franchise that was doing annualization,
yeah,
Assassin's Creed,
yeah, and
and then they
like
stopped. And it's better because they could support that game, right? They support the games now,
yeah.
and they're like another extra year of DLC until the next game comes out. So it's like kind of every 2 years, right?
And one of the things that like one of the last Call of Duty campaigns I played was World War II, and I remember all the ads for that game beforehand being like, it's an incredibly dramatic story. It's super cinematic, but it's also grounded and realistic and gritty and shows the true horror of World War II. And I didn't get any of that. Like it just felt like a generic action movie thing that like I didn't really care about any of the characters or any of what was happening really, except for maybe the one level where you play as the female spy, the French spy.
Mm.
But like, yeah. So even when they're really trying to swing for the fences story wise, it still just falls flat for me. So if
Yeah.
they can cool it a bit and just have like, when they think of a good idea, just work on that for however long it takes and make a good campaign, I'll probably play it.
Well, so here's what I'm saying. The talk is like with the annualization wouldn't stop until like another year or two. So we probably get 2 more yearly entries, if anything. But imagine after that, like all these studios are pretty much in 3-year rotations, taking 3 years to make these games and stuff. And yeah, they're running out of stuff. Like, I don't really care anymore. I'm excited for Modern Warfare 2, maybe, because it's like continuing that story, because they have
Oh yeah.
characters that already make me I'm invested. And that's why the reason Modern Warfare works is because it has established characters. And if you want a campaign that's interesting, you got to do that. And World War II would have been cool if it was the start of a new franchise. If it was the start like Modern Warfare, where they're like, oh, here's these guys, and this is the first theater of war. They're in North Africa. And the next game, we're going to see them in Italy. And then the game after that, we're going to see them on, like, D-Day and stuff. And you go through their lives, like, with all this, and if they really want to get personal, show them reading letters, show them blah, blah in the cutscene. Like, make it really that you want to, like, you know, fall in love with these characters. And if one dies, you feel bad. Like, fucking Band of Brothers. Like, that's what you'd have to do. And so far, they haven't grasped that yet, besides the Modern Warfare franchise. But, if they leave the annualization, let's look at it in this fashion. They still have this 3-year process or whatever. Even if it's every 2 years, you're giving the studios even more time to work on these games, but maybe they're not working on those games specifically, which brings in the other thing. The whole Microsoft, like, the whole freedom of developers making their own games. They have the freedom to create something and then go along with it. Like, they can actually be creative instead of be stuck to a franchise. Which, actually, you know what? Never mind. That's not fully true, because then we have 343 and Coalition, which are purely made for Halo and Gears. But hopefully, you know, if they don't want to do it anymore, they could get transferred now to any of these 20 other studios and be like, all right, can I work here? But they now could potentially have the creative freedom to do other things. Like, oh, well, hey, it's your turn for now, Infinity Ward. Can you spend maybe 4 years making Call of Duty? And we'll have one other studio making Call of Duty. That's another big rotation, but they'll come out 2 years after you. And let's say Infinity Ward does that Call of Duty game. Treyarch does that Call of Duty game. Sledgehammer. Well, they're doing those two. You got 2 years, 3 years maybe, before you have to start making one. Why don't you go make another game, a new IP, while you're in between? Want to do that instead? Sure. Raven, do you guys want to do your own game? High Moon Studios, do you want to do your own IP? Cool. So now we have Infinity Ward and Treyarch making 2 separate Call of Duty games that'll come out 2 years apart. And now we have Raven, High Moon Studios, and Sledgehammer making 3 new IPs. And it's the first new IPs Activision's seen in God knows how long. Imagine that. Imagine all they can do now if they can pull that off. And then, oh, Infinity Ward's made their Call of Duty game, Treyarch made their game. All right, Raven, Sledgehammer, you guys are up. Make yours too. Infinity Ward, Treyarch, you guys want to make a new IP? I know you guys never have, really. Do you guys want to do one now? Like, is that crazy or what?
That'd be interesting. I mean, it definitely... I mean, I don't want to get too much into this because we could go and talk about this for a while.
Yeah.
And I have had very little D today.
No, for sure.
But like it's interesting that like Activision has basically turned a lot of their studios into just like game factories, which to an extent that is what studios are.
Specifically just Call of Duty factories.
But that's also the thing, is like they're not just cranking out any game every year. They're cranking out specific games every year. And that can lead to a lot of burnout for a lot of people. And like, so it would be cool if now that Microsoft owns all these studios and the legacy content that like Activision hasn't bothered to make in years, like when they made a Guitar Hero like a few years ago, but it wasn't super great. Like
everyone tried to make a instrument game and none of them.
Yeah.
No one was happy.
It would be cool to see Microsoft be like, hey, maybe we could let these studios like choose, like, do you want to work on like a legacy content or maybe something new? Like, you don't have to work on Call of Duty necessarily. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah. So it's going to be cool. I think like I said, we won't see just like, will Call of Duty be exclusive forever or will be multi-platform forever? We won't see any changes here for probably 2 years. or at least a year after the acquisition is finished. But imagine though having 4 new studios making new IPs besides all the other ones you just like have previously bought, and all they've been doing is a shooter, and now they have like they've been dying potentially to make something different, and now they finally have that chance. Who knows what they could make? Like what genre exactly? It could be a
Yeah.
different type of shooter. It could be a fantasy game. It could be an RPG. It could be a fucking sports game. I don't know. It could be anything. So it's just exciting to think about that thing. Which brings me to the last thing. Phil Spencer did say he is interested in reviving older IP from the Activision catalog too. And, that could be things like Guitar Hero and stuff, which, more or less would be
The only version of that I can see is like actually a cool new thing would be if they did a VR version.
Yeah, that'd be kind of, but they don't have VR. So.
Yeah, that's that complicates things.
Yeah, so think of all their past IP, and think about like we sort of Tony Hawk is gone again. It feels like, so I would say besides Crash 4, not counting Crash, what other IP do you want them to bring back? Like, what IP would you want them not as like we're putting on Game Pass, but make a new game, a sequel or a reboot or whatever?
I don't know. Like, I'd literally have to look up a list of Activision properties because my brain is like shutting down right now.
Personally, I would just say, just like the one game I want on Game Pass, I want a second gun. I think the Western market is not utilized well enough, and I think that Rockstar has done minimal effort in trying to expand upon Red Dead Online, plus make any expansions, that there's much to be desired in the Western area besides some indie games. So I think if they made a second gun, that would be actually really cool, personally.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a second Singularity from Raven, or a new Raven game in general. Just let Raven do whatever they want. Are the two things I probably want currently. But I guess that's everything.
Right.
That's our whole talk on Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. I figured it would take a long time for this because, like I said, this is a fat fucking topic and we had to go through a lot of different things. I hope you guys like that. We put a lot into it. I actually had to read multiple different articles, but I made sure to stay away from other podcasts because I did not want other people's opinions getting into my head. This is why I kind of stopped listening to game podcasts for the most part, is I've just actively tried to stay away from like being influenced at this point by like, guys we love listening to. I'm just like, Greg, Colin, yeah, that's nice try. But even though I love listening still, I'll probably listen to their stuff now after that I've done this. I've like saved their Patreon downloads and shit, but I'm just like, I wanted to wait. Like I said, this is the one time probably until there's something insane again in the news. Who knows? Whatever, maybe Sony buys, if Sony buys a publisher, E3, I don't know what's going to be next for us, but it'll be back to regular what we watched, played, featured next week. We'll figure out what it is, and then we'll catch you guys next week, though. Otherwise, you can, once again, write into us at sutrosidetalk@gmail.com. Send us any comments, feedback. If you want us to answer a question on the show, you can always send us a question, and we'll talk about it here. That's, once again, Sutro Sidetalk, the title of the show, at gmail.com. You can also subscribe to the show on multiple podcast platforms. That would help us out. If it's Apple Podcasts specifically, give us a 5-star review. That'd help us. Or rate us on Spotify if you're listening there. There's ratings now for that. That would help us out. If it's YouTube here you're watching us on, like and subscribe. I'm still getting used to saying that. That would help us out too, though. Share it with anyone you guys can. Podcast, YouTube, whatever you guys want. That also would do some great work for us. And then follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sutro Sidetalk. Currently, you'll probably just see stuff from us on Instagram for now, but like I said, in due time, we'll have it again on all three. And then, of course, you can follow James individually on Twitter at InvaderJim124, and you can follow me individually at GoGoComzilla on Twitter. I hope you guys had a great time here. We will see you all next week, and I'll talk about the NFC Championship with the Niners, maybe. We'll see. Woo!
Thanks for listening.